Hey guys, it's Mrs. B again. Today we're going to finish talking about box and whisker plots. The other day we talked about how to create a box and whisker plot and how to analyze a box and whisker plot. We're going to review that first, review what our steps are, what each piece means, and then we're going to look at comparing more than one box plot on the same grid or in the same graph and what that means for us. Okay, so as always, these are in the Google Classroom. These pages are in the Google Classroom. The assignment in the Google Classroom is, I think it says pre-algebra week of April 3rd, something like that. So that's where you find this. Everything in that packet, if you choose to do it, is stuff on this new skill, and then some review stuff on scatter plots and line of best fit. And I'm going to do some review of that later on in the week, okay? So here we go. Oh, another thing before I forget, before I really get into this. Starting Monday, my office hours are going to be Monday through Friday, 9 to noon. I'm going to try and, if you can either see me here on Zoom or you can email me and I'll answer your questions as much as possible. On Wednesday, your assignment packets for the rest of the school year for April and May will be available at school for pickup when they have the lunch pickup. So from 10:30 to noon on Wednesday next week, you'll be able to pick up your learning packets for the rest of the school year. There's one packet for the 8th grade. There are assignments for your 4 cores plus your electives, and there's a calendar to kind of give you a way to pace yourself through it. We are always here and available whenever you need us, so just keep that in mind. And so now first we're going to review the stuff we did in the last meeting. So here's my information, and I need to make a box and whisker plot. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information and I'm going to put it in order. I'm going to take my data and I'm going to put it in order from least to greatest, from smallest to biggest. So let's look at this. As I go through here, my smallest number is 5. Okay. And then I have 9. Now let's look. Okay, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, and 22. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of information there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of information here. Okay, so let's do this. Count into the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there are 2 in the middle, we add them together and divide by 2. So this will be 14.5 is our median. Okay. Now let's find the middle of the bottom half. 1, 2, this is nice. There's only one number there. So this is our Q1. This is the bottom of our box. Let's do this for the top end. 1, 2, all right. So there's one number there. This is our Q3, the top of our box. 5 is my min. 20 is my max. Okay. Now let's make our thing. I know I got to go from 5 to 22. So I'm going to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oops. 16, 17, 18, 19. Not enough. I'm going to have to change how I do this. Okay. So let's see. If I said this was 0 and then I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Yep, this works. 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, and so on. So that worked a little better. So it's always trial and error when we figure out our scale. Now, let's draw our box first. Our minimum is at 14.5, which means, well, there's 15, so I back up a little bit. So 14.5 is approximately there. Our Q1 is 10. Our Q3 is 18. So now we have the middle and ends of our box. Our smallest number is 5. Our largest number is 22. Mark those two numbers and create our whiskers. Now we've created our box and whisker plot, and if we need to, we can come over here to the side now. Our minimum was 5. Our lower quartile was 10. Our median was 14.5. Our upper quartile was 18. And our maximum was 22. So just taking piece by piece. Step 1, put them in order from least to greatest. Step 2, find the middle, find the median. Step 3, find the middle of the bottom half. That's our Q1. Step 4, find the middle of the top half. That's your Q3. The final step is to go to your number line and create your box and whisker plot from the information you found. We draw a line for Q1, median, Q3, and that creates our box. Then we put a dot for our max, a dot for our min, and connect those two dots to the box we built. Okay? Now, what happens if instead of giving you the information, I give you the box and whisker plot? First thing you need to do if you're asked to analyze a box and whisker plot is to mark what you know. 18 is my minimum. 22 is my lower quartile. Looks like 25 is my median. 28 is my Q3. And 38 is my maximum. So those are my key pieces of information. Now that I have those, I can answer my questions. What is the inner quartile range? Well, as a reminder, inner quartile range means how long is my box? How far is it from Q1 to Q3? So I'm going to do Q3 minus Q1. So I have 28 minus 22, and I get 6. So my inner quartile range, my IQR for this box and whisker plot is 6. About what percentage of the players are at least 25 years old? Well, at least means that number or bigger, okay? They have to be 25 or older. Well, let's look at our picture. 25 is our median. So I have 2 chunks of my graph that are above. Well, each chunk of this graph is worth 25%. So 25 and 25 is 50. 50% of my players are at least 25 years old. About how many players are no more than 28 years old? Well, no more than means they're 28 or younger, because that goes in the opposite direction. We want 28 to be the maximum age. Well, let's look at our picture. Here's 28. So that's 1, 2, 3 sections of the graph, which means that 25 plus 25 plus 25, 75% of my players are no more than 28 years old. Okay, so we've talked about how to make it and how to analyze it. Now let's look at what happens when they decide to mix it up and give me two graphs and ask me to compare those two graphs or those two box plots and draw conclusions from those two box plots. The question here says, Mr. Athens and Mrs. Gilman gave the same test to their math classes. The scores of each class are shown below. All right, well, let's look at Mr. Athens' class. Here's his minimum at 45. His Q1 is at 60. His median, his average grade is at, or his middle grade is at 80, and his highest grade is 100. His Q3 is 100. Sorry, no, his max is 100. His Q3 is 90. Okay. Now let's look at Miss Gilman's class. Miss Gilman's lowest score was a 60. Her Q1 was a 70. Her median, her middle ground was a 75. Her Q3 was a 90, and her max was a 95. So it says, what is the difference in the median scores? So difference implies I'm subtracting, and I'm looking at their median scores. Well, Mr. Athens had a median score of 80. Miss Gilman had a median score of 75. So the difference between those is 5. Which class has the greater range of scores? Well, we're talking about, when we talk about just straight up range, we're talking about max and min. So this is asking which of these two graphs has the biggest number of steps, the most number of steps between their maximum value and their minimum value. Well, let's see. For Mr. Athens, my max was 100, my min was 45, so it took 55 steps to get from one end of his grades to the other. Mrs. Gilman, her maximum score was a 95, her minimum score was a 60, so that's 35. So which class had the greater range of scores? Which class had to take more steps to get from the smallest score to the largest score? That would be Mr. Athens. Okay. Which class do you feel did better overall? Now, this is a question of looking at the graph and what things do these two graphs tell us? Well, what do you consider doing best overall? Having having a big range of scores or having a small range of scores? Having a perfect score or having the highest median score? Well, if we look at it in terms of who has the highest score in the middle, the highest median score, the highest median score is Mr. Athens. Mrs. Gilman has the smallest range. So depending on which one of those I wanted to use to justify which one had the better score, that would decide what my answer is. Okay, now, when you run across this on something like an SOL test, they're going to be a little bit more specific in terms of what they mean by who had the better scores. Now, for me, I'm looking at the higher median score here. Because you always have that one kid in class that bombs the test. That always is there. But if the middle score, if I put all the papers in order from the lowest score to the highest score, and I get to the middle of that stack, and that score is an 80, that means half the people made an 80 or higher, then I've done my job. That's what I'm looking for, okay? Now, there are more practice problems in the packet. If you have any questions, email me, okay? Or if you're watching this and you're not my student, you can put something in the comments below. Have a safe day, safe week, and I'll talk to y'all again soon.